Red Free Radio, this is Chiara Nicoletti from the 79th Venice International Film Festival. I'm happy to welcome back Teona Strugar Mitevska, director of The Happiest Man in the World here in Orizzonti. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's actually very, very nice to see you again. I remember you very well, and I remember our previous interview.
How have you been?
Good, very good. I've never been, after a certain age, you go down, you become younger and younger every year. So that's beautiful. By the time I'm 90, I will be 2.
I think that's a perfect beginning of an interview, and knowing you that a little bit from your film and from meeting you before, I actually believe that. So talking about The Happiest Man in the World, you know that when I watched God exists, her name is Petrunia, I came up with my own idea about the film, so here I come again. Could we say that it's also a comedic tale about forgiveness?
Comedy.
Yeah, in a way, yes. Well.
I'm happy you say this, because there are, I love absurdity. I love putting my characters in absurd, uncomfortable situation. So yes, from this comes this comic relief, which is extremely important when you tell a hard story, difficult story, So you cry and you smile, and you cry and you smile, and then on the end you go through catharsis, I hope. But yes, I think.
But how did it all start? I read that you wrote again this film with your script writer, and that's actually her story, or it's inspired by her story. So how did you approach it, and why did you both decide that it was about time that you could treat this topic?
It is true. It is the Happiest Man in the World. It is inspired by a true story, and this is Elma Tataragi's story. She told me this story many years ago, I think 10 years ago, and we did not know how to approach it, like who wants to see a war film, who wants to, And then at one moment we were at Sarajevo Film Festival, and we were staying we were in the cafe, in the hallway reception of Holiday Inn, which is very famous, emblematic hotel from the time of the siege of Sarajevo. And I was actually with my sister, the producer, and I told her Elma's story, and we started dreaming. And she said, what if everything happens here in a hotel? And what if it's some kind of congress or some kind of meeting place, and they meet by chance? And we started dreaming, and then we realized, oh my God, we are talking about Elma's story, we should tell her that. So we called Elma, and we said, Elma, maybe we have maybe we have found the key to how to tell your story. And we were a little bit afraid, because you never know how she will. It is such a personal tragedy she experienced, and that we want to put it on the big screen. And Elma listened to us, and she said, when do we start writing?
I love that.
So then she sat down and wrote it, and yes, I guess she was ready. She was ready to tell this story. She was ready.
For those who, without spoiling too much of the film, for those who don't know about the film, it is a story about this woman going to a speed date and actually meeting the man that during war shot her. So that's cathartic in a way. And I also read that Elma, your scriptwriter, then felt relieved in a way after writing it all out.
Yes, actually, this is crazy, but every time I speak of this, it puts tears in my eyes. For many years, she tried to be pregnant and have a child. Yeah. And then the moment she finished the script, she became pregnant, and she has a 3-year-old child today.
I love that.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's all in our mind,
Absolutely.
You have to let go.
Yes,
somehow.
she let go. I guess she made peace with, in a way, with this man also.
And I was wondering, how difficult for you, and if it was, to deal with war in a general sense? I mean, to try and, to try and talk about it, and about how people saw it or people didn't understand it. I mean, all the different perception about war and about that war.
You know, I'm Macedonian. Well, my mother is Montenegrin, so I am a child of Yugoslavia. But so I'm not Bosnian. Elma is, but this the war in Yugoslavia belongs to, well, horribly to say, but it affected us profoundly. My generation, it took away everything we were promised. We were promised brotherhood and unity, and I grew up in a beautiful Yugoslavia that suddenly disappeared. So yes, I'm sad for this war, but I'm also angry that we could not find as a country another way, another solution to actually have a different future. Why we had to kill each other, but okay, this is another story. To answer your question, I have Elma next to me, and we sort of shared both of our experiences. We did lots of research. While I was doing casting, I did interviews with so many hundreds of people who lived in Sarajevo during the siege of Sarajevo. When we did casting all over Bosnia, because we wanted to include Serbians as well as Bosniaks, because it is about the actor, not about the religion or nationality. Yeah. So we did a year and a half of research and then whatever we found out during this research, we actually incorporated it in the story. Because yes, the story is the basis, these two people, but it's also a story of the common memory of this horrible war, and it is about the story of the ensemble of all the characters that are in this room, whose experiences at one point also get to the surface.
How did you manage, because you did do it, to balance, the tones? I mean, there are some scenes in all your films, but there are some scenes that are incredible, because I kept thinking, for example, how could you do it, and how could you do it so respectfully, but at the same time very entertaining? I mean, for example, there's this scene in which they're all about to eat some cakes, sitting. The women of this speed dating are talking about their experiences, and the protagonist suddenly, while she's eating and while she's about to eat, suddenly tells them her story about her friend being shot, her going back home, or something that is very tragic, very painful, but still this sharing things in this environment that it feels like a counterpoint in a sense. So how did you balance it? How did you make it right? I mean,
because this film also is about living in war after war. And the currency of this film is even more important today than any other time, because as we are speaking, another war is raging, and the Ukraine is happening, and the question is, once the war in Ukraine stops, how will people continue to live, and how and the film is talking about Bosnians and Sarajevo people living with these painful and grievous experiences of war 25 years later. So, for example, this scene in the restaurant you're talking about, it is based on the research we made. Every time we would talk to people, we did lots of interviews, everybody spoke about food because food was so scarce during the siege of Sarajevo that you know, people, food was memory. Food brings you back as well as sounds, you know. So when you deal with people who are living with PTSD, with these war experiences or whichever traumatic experiences, there are certain triggers. So of course we incorporated in the script these triggers. So that's why you say how I managed to balance. Cinema is about collaboration. So this film really belongs to the actors as much as, you know, they are just as responsible as me and Elma are, because it was about sharing experiences and sort of them allowing us to use them in the film, to incorporate them in the script.
I love that. One last question. We talk about Elma, your co-writer that felt relieved after that and finally also became pregnant and had their child. But how did you come out with after this experience? I mean, how did you change, if it changed you somehow, going through this?
Absolutely changed me. I have grown up. And I think I guess I'm more humble. I'm not absolutely humble, but I've learned humility. You know, you awareness of and respect, and you know, we all say you don't know war unless you experience it, and that's why we make this film to bring the truth of something closer to the audience. So I think I understood something. I guess I appreciate life more and better now.
I love that. I hope after watching the film, you will all agree about this experience. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Teona Mitevska, for being with us again. I'm really glad to have you back here. So I hope to see you again with the next film, or maybe with this one. So good luck with the happiest man in the world here at Venice 79.
Thank you very much.
And this is Chiara Nicoletti for Fred, the Festival Insider.